welcome back, Amask. Hope you guys are excited for Eurovision. Today we're gonna discuss three entries that we did not really get at first listen, which are gonna be the Netherlands, Greece, and Switzerland. And so, after listening for a few months, digesting, listening to people's comments about it, we've kind of consolidated what we think these songs are about. We have been dying from exams. This one over here has graduated. Well, he will graduate, so we're so proud of him. Yeah!
Thank you.
So that's why we've been kind of quiet and we've been like putting out some really old footage. Okay, so let's start with a fan favorite, the Netherlands. So do you remember what our first initial reactions to this were?
I remember like we thought that it was very like, oh, this is like kind of a tribute to European culture. And then I remember
Yeah.
someone had noted like what kind of the backstory of it was. And so like we thought like, oh, this is cool, like especially when it has that sort of significance to it. And then the end of the music video hit us hard. And that's what distinctly stands out to me.
Yeah, I think what hit us hard wasn't even like what he was saying at the end because it was like in Dutch and none of us understood what was happening. It was just like the somber
Yeah.
music and like the sudden tone change. So yeah, for me, when I saw the Dutch release on Twitter, I saw a lot of Dutch people talking about it, saying it was a really emotional message concealed behind like a really happy song. And I didn't want to like spoil it for myself, so I didn't really look into what they were saying. And so when we watched it, we were kind of like, we looked at the lyrics, I remember, and we were like, oh, ich bin in Deutschland, aber ich bin so allein. And we were like, huh, what does that mean? So it kind of confused us. And
Yeah.
we were generally in agreement that it was a good song, right? Like we enjoyed it, but we didn't really get the message. So our Argentinian correspondent has helped us with kind of deciphering the meaning of Europapa.
So like the original sort of backstory of it was it had to do with Juice Klein lost both of his parents at a young age, and so this was kind of like the long and short of it is that this is kind of a tribute to European culture as much as it is a tribute to them. So what we were saying was the most important thing to know is that it's dedicated to his parents, especially his dad. Dad passed away from cancer when he was only 12 years old, and he was his best friend, so it clearly impacted him. His dad told him that the world has no borders, and so he should make it his own. And thanks to his dad, he also published Albino, his poetry book, in 2021, because he told him that he should always show the world his creations and continue to create no matter what happened. And then his mom died when he was 13 years old, 1 year after his father's death. And since then, his older siblings, whose birth years he has tattooed on his fingers as a gesture of gratitude, took care of him. So that is really sweet. Juice and his parents always watched Eurovision together. He always told them that someday it'd be him who was up on that stage, and now he's fulfilling his promise to them. The song talks about how he goes to every place in Europe and meets people, but still feels empty inside, no matter how many people he gives his money to, how many friends he makes, how much delicious food he has. There's some sample lyrics like, I am in Germany, but I am so alone. I am in Italy, but I still feel pain. There is always something empty inside him that won't let him enjoy life, which is the grief for those losses. He's traveling and making music so that the grief will go away and that eventually he'll feel alive again. There's a reference in the video to the song Papa Ute by Stromae. Papa Ute is not actually a word in French, but it comes from an amalgamation of the words Papa Utue, which translates to Dad, where are you? And it's a song about Stromae's own father, who passed away when he was even younger. Stromae was only 9, and that was when he's Belgian, but he has Rwandan ancestry. So his father went to Rwanda to visit family and then never came back because that was when the Rwandan genocide happened, and unfortunately he was killed in that. And so that song grapples with a lot of sort of like anger and depression and just like trying to mask it all and move on and be okay with having lost his father so suddenly and in such a long distance at such a young age. And so having that sort of reference into this song as well was one thing that we were especially focusing on because like it's a sort of shared experience between both artists, and it's encapsulated in both songs in different ways, but still like the feelings are still very similar there. Regardless, like it's still tragic to lose a parental figure at such a young age. The music video itself, so what she said was, has a lot of pop culture references, and it has Juiced as a European ambassador, clad in blue or Klein Bleu, and with a big smile. In that video, we can also see the big eccentric looking house in the background. which in there resides a young and old version of Juice in the same room, meaning that he knows his heart is rooted back in his home, even in the safe haven of his childhood where his parents were still alive. And they also want to note that "Welcome to Europe, stay here until I die" is a reference to the fact that Europe is the only thing that Juice has that won't go away or die. That Europe will always be there for him to travel, to meet new people. By the end of the video, we see this very same house burning. So this is the part that really kind of got us at the end. We see the same house burning along with the picture of Juice and his actual parents. It means two things. One, the loss of that safe haven and family life. The house burning down means that nothing can be salvaged, it won't come back. Because it's not just a small fire, right? It's like the entire house is engulfed in flames. And two, that Juice is ready to move on. The pain and grief won't go away on their own, but by burning the house and the memories with it, as tragic as that may seem, he can start from healing from a clean slate and build a new future where his parents will remain as a nice memory and something to guide him.
I've seen really tiny snippets of the rehearsals on Twitter. I've heard that at the very end, I believe they've translated his message from Dutch to English so that the viewers can see what he's saying. I think they're really gonna try to lean into what the music video did and try to make that message of this is a message from Joost to his parents. So overall, the Netherlands is a message from like a child to his parents who he lost when he was really young, and this is what he's saying to all of Europe, like this was like his parents' dream and now he's living it for them. So yeah, that's the Netherlands. All right, let's move on to Greece. We published our reaction video to this. We were a little bit tired while filming that, so some of the comments I think were like, you guys are so cold as your weather.
That was
sorry,
funny,
we were full-time students, so we're trying our best. I think we definitely got a mixed reaction from our viewers. I think all of us were just like really surprised and we didn't really know what to say. I also think some people were taken aback by one of our members reading the postcard at the end. And taking it like we weren't aware that Greece was the birthplace of democracy. I can assure you that we do know that. We're just comp sci students. We're a bit slow at reading. Let's talk about the actual music. After we filmed a reaction though, Greece I think really grew on me. Like I listened to it a lot. And I really wanted to figure out what the lyrics meant. The music itself was so interesting, and that combined with like just shoving Greek culture into your face for the music video, I was like so intrigued. And so I looked up the lyrics, I found a translation, and I didn't really get it. I've gone through some YouTube comment sections, and from what I can gather, there's a lot of different interpretations. So first of all, obviously the biggest thing you can see right away is that it shoves Greek culture in your face. So it shows Greek food, philosophy, architecture, dance. The style of music used is a fusion of the sounds from that area. And so for people like us who did not grow up surrounded by that kind of music, it was a lot to take in. And depending on who you talk to, it can be a lot in a good way. For me, it was a lot in a good way. For some people, it's just so foreign that they don't, they aren't able to appreciate it. And for me, as not just someone who's interested in foreign culture, but also as a musician, I was super intrigued. So here's a comment from the music video that says, Zari is about going beyond the superficial elements of Greek culture, which I already think is such an interesting message. And the special thing is that these are the perfect circumstances in which to showcase a song with that message. So this is a Greek song to represent Greece to the world, to non-Greek people. What better way to convey that message than with this, opportunity? So there's also a flip side to this, which I also saw in a comment section. I can't find it again, but I've seen other people interpret it as this too. So now they're saying that this song isn't only about Greek culture and trying to go beyond that superficial element. So the song is about a relationship, and that relationship is between the country of Greece, its culture, and then with the people who experience it. And so this is the link between Greek identity and tourism. The narrator who is singing, we can interpret it as this like entity of Greece, like not just like one thing, but like the entire, representation of what it means to be Greek. And the narrator is saying that they are missing and even mourning the tourists that have left their country, who have like experienced their culture and have, moved on. And so in the lyrics, for example, I'm pretending to forget your name. I'm pretending to forget your scent. I'll die alone if you're somewhere else. Like it's like this piece of land is just like missing all of the people who have visited it and, gone abroad. So one can kind of interpret this as the sharing of Greek culture in itself is so essential to Greek identity that it's painful to live without it. And that's how I kind of interpreted the comment that brought this up.
A lot of American discourse is about like cultural identity kind of melting together and like being, whereas some parts of it are celebrated, there's a lot of parts of it that are lost due to like assimilation and from being away from whatever place for so long. You start to like forget elements that were previously prominent and you become more like specifically Canadian or American or what have you. I agree with you as well. Like I tried to look at the lyrics before and it seemed very sort of confusing. It seemed just very broad as to what it could be. There's a lot of like metaphor, simile used in the lyrics, but it doesn't seem like it's anything too specific. But I guess when you go into it, like a lot of that more so starts to make sense in those different contexts. But you were saying there are tons of different interpretations online. I was reading through a few of them before. The one that I'd been looking at just before we started was like about, it says it explores themes of pain, change, and letting go, and it mentions like the refrain of "and let whatever happens happen" suggests a surrender to fate or destiny, acknowledging some things that are beyond our control.
And you brought up how us as North Americans, we would view it. And that made me think about how for us Canadians, multiculturalism is a huge part of our identity. Like people see Canada, they see this melting pot of a bunch of different cultures coexisting. And then that made me think, oh, well, this song could also be about like, Greek people like moving away from Greece and then, like losing that kind of touch with Greek culture, or like trying to like stay connected to Greek culture while not living in Greece. And so what you say about, so many different interpretations is, I think, really the key to like the ambiguity of the song. Like you said, it's culture and we all experience culture differently in the same way that we interpret this song in a lot of different ways. And so I think that is what makes this song really interesting. And if you have a different interpretation or you think we're just completely wrong, feel free to let us know in the comments. We would love to hear what you think. So we're going to round this off with Switzerland. So Nemo is one of the front runners for this competition with The Code. I don't know about you, but for me, when we first heard this, it was really jarring because it was just a mishmash of musical genres. The music video has so many costume changes. Like, it was just a lot. So similarly to like Europapa and Zari, like it was a lot. We didn't really know what it meant. So I think we gave it kind of like a mid-tier ranking at first. All right, so this song, when you look at the lyrics, it's pretty clear. This song is about breaking boundaries and being yourself, not conforming to societal expectations. That's pretty clear, and we've had a lot of songs like that at Eurovision where it's about, empowerment and like self-identity. But The Code does something really special where it presents the entire process of like finding yourself as a story in the song. So it's not just lyrically, it's through the music. And so again, when we're talking about the mixing of genres, now listening back, it's similar to how Nemo changed costumes in the music video. The genres evoke the same symbolism of trying on different identities. So like, oh, like do I feel, drum and bass? Do I feel operatic singing? So it's like what, style fits me, what feels right to like kind of wear and present. So already musically, you can hear the process of trying to find oneself, and whether that's like a struggle or whether that's liberation, I think that's really up to the viewer. And then in the lyrics, I'm done playing the game, I'll break out of the chains. This story is my truth. I went to hell and back to find myself on track. Now I found paradise. And in particular, in the bridge, somewhere between the O's and ones, that's where I found my kingdom come. And so Nemo is now saying that their home is in between binaries, between societies' defined borders, and that's where they belong. And now this is usually interpreted as an anthem for gender acceptance, and so, but really, this is a message that can be owned by anyone who falls outside the norm. For people who are neurodivergent, for example, this could be a way to express those feelings of both, you know, struggling to fit in versus the freedom of being who you are.
I also like that it's very subtle and that you have to kind of look into it for that, because I feel like that still kind of goes in with the theme of the song. I guess we're not just breaking the code, we're breaking down the code to figure out like everything that lies within it, right? Like, you know, a lot of these, as we said, even though the song lyrics are more like blatant about what the meaning is, you still have to really look into it and read it a couple times to get like every single detail there.
Like I was saying about it being a story, I mean, if you look at the song itself, and I think this can be really well conveyed with the staging as well, because it is a story. At the beginning, they're like setting this stage, right? They're like, welcome to the show, you know, I'm done playing the game. And then they go into this rap part, and it kind of feels like this like anguish all building up, and they're, you know, still trying to find themselves. And then in the bridge, somewhere between the O's and ones, that's where I found my kingdom come. It's like that self-acceptance. And then there's an operatic part after the bridge, which is my by far favorite part of the song. It's just so well orchestrated. It's them like singing so high, and then there's like this horn section under that I'm just like obsessed with. Anyway, I feel like the way that they can show that through the staging, it really feels like to me like they're truly breaking out of their cage. Like Nemo's found their wings, they've like flown away, they're singing so high, you know. But like the final chorus, like everything comes back. The orchestration, the drum and bass, all the different genres. In the music video, it was like a switch between all the costumes. It's not saying like, oh, I found myself, which is one thing. It's I found myself, which can be a lot of different things. And at the end, when it's like all of these things together, it's like the identity isn't just like all these separate things, but all of these things combined together, and that's still valid, and that's still Nemo, and that's still whoever is listening and interpreting the song.
It's interesting how all three of the songs that we're discussing have done something like that, where there's a lot of masking there.
If you are watching and you're from the Nemo server and you're part of the Red Triangle cult, that was one of our members. Our logo is literally a red triangle. That was not scripted, that was not incidental, it was just a happy coincidence. But if you're from Nemo server, if you've read our article by Nat, which is on our blog in our link tree, about Nemo's song, you should totally subscribe! Triangle Gang! Yeah, so if you guys liked this, we're gonna try to post videos throughout all of Eurovision week and throughout the summer. We're gonna go through the semis, react to the qualifiers. So subscribe, let us know who you think is gonna qualify, let us know what you think of the songs that we discussed. Comments are yours, and thank you guys for watching. Subscribe here.
Are you pointing the right way?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay. Bye, guys.